Hey guys, welcome. It looks like everybody is logging on. So we're going to give a couple minutes to let people get logged on. In the meantime, in the chat, if you could put where you are logging in from. So for me, I'm from Colorado. My name is Amy Altamash. And then we have Christy Lawrence, and she is from Michigan.
Right on the line, Ohio-Michigan line.
Sherry Mullins, where is that? I don't even know how to say it. Eucharist?
I think that's Ohio.
Is that Ohio?
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, we got a good group going on so far. Got 18 people joining. So I want to apologize because I gave everybody, I'm glad all of you made it because you figured out the correct date, because I was putting that it was Thursday on the registration page, and then on my social media I was putting it was Tuesday, but obviously it was Wednesday. It's tonight at 6 o'clock Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. So for all of those that I confused and you got the date wrong, I apologize. You will get the replay link to this tomorrow morning. So everybody will still get it no matter what. Okay. So sorry, I really messed that one up. What I did is I did it early morning at 5 o'clock the week before I went on vacation. So I had a lot in my mind. I apparently forgot which day it was.
I can't tell you how many times I get confused about your mountain time and our Eastern time. Even today, I double checked at 6. I thought, oh my gosh, are we starting at 6 today? Because I wrote it on 6 in my calendar, but then in my head I had 8 p.m. So that always trips me up too.
Confused me because I work in Eastern time most of the time. All right, so we got a lot of Ohio people here today. So cool. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Amy Altamash. I'm a functional medicine nurse practitioner. And Christy, you want to introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Christy Lawrence. I'm also a functional medicine nurse practitioner. Amy and I have very parallel backgrounds in family medicine in the traditional healthcare field for the beginning of our career. And right around the same time, we both went to different functional medicine schools, but both went to functional medicine school and graduated from there around the same time. So it's kind of interesting, kind of serendipitous. But yeah, we love what we do. We love partnering together, and we're excited to talk about our topic today, the gut-brain connection.
So we're going to talk about how the gut and brain is connected and how you can help improve it. So I want to just mention this again. It was in the emails and the social media posts, but if you guys stay all the way to the end of the presentation today, which is only going to be an hour, and then we'll do some question and answers at the end, but you'll get the bonus of the healthy living guide, and I'll drop it into the comments at the end. So make sure you stay to the end to get that. It's a really good document to just learn how to live a healthy life. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about what is a leaky gut. It's also called increased intestinal permeability. What causes a leaky gut? What from your history could set you up for a leaky gut? Symptoms of leaky gut. How to heal your gut with a 5R protocol, which is called remove, replace, reinoculate, repair, and rebalance. The vagus nerve, and then we're also going to give you 2 take-home tests to assess your gut health at home that are free for you to do. So I'm going to pass it over to Christy, and she's going to get us started.
So probably a term that most people are familiar with is what's called leaky gut. I kind of think of it like the slang term. In medicine, we call it increased intestinal permeability. And so basically, the membrane and the digestive lining is meant to be semi-permeable. So how I explain this to my patients is if anyone's ever had a glass of wine or 2 or 3, you notice within, 30 minutes, you're kind of feeling something. So the alcohol molecules are able to get into the bloodstream really quickly once it hits that digestive system and the lining of the digestive system. But food, whole food particles should be staying in the vault of the gut, and it should be a two-way street, right? Mouth to rectum. Everything kind of stays in. Well, what can happen with damage and inflammation of the gut lining is that cracks or holes can start to develop in that sensitive one layer thick lining. So now we have this impairment in the lining, and things can start to leak out into the bloodstream and aggravate the immune system. So, undigested food can leak out, toxins, bacterial body parts, which are called lipopolysaccharides. Those are a real problem because those lead to a lot of systemic inflammation, and they also can lead to autoimmune disease. So they're penetrating the tissue and triggering inflammation and also changes in the gut flora that can lead to problems with the digestive tract. So it can be a real problem because then the immune system that is hanging out in the near the digestive tract is coming in contact with these undigested food particles. Well, when the immune system is coming in contact with anything that's foreign, it wants to take a bite out of it and see if it's a bad guy. You know, is it a virus? Is it a bacteria? So it's taking a bite out of these undigested food proteins and then creating an antibody to it. So this is where we start to develop food allergies or antigens to the food that we're eating every day. And that can become a real problem and lead us into autoimmune disease. So causes of leaky gut, food antigens. So that is what I was referencing with the immune system making antibodies to the foods that we're eating. The big ones, and we're going to talk about ways to heal the gut, but the big ones would be like gluten and dairy are very common to cause this inflammation and systemic problems in the body. Other causes, stress is a major contributing factor. Infections, a word we call dysbiosis, which essentially means that there's an imbalance of the good and the bad bacteria in the digestive system. So there could be an overgrowth of what we call an endemic bacteria, which means we all have it, it's there. But as long as we have enough good guys to the bad guys, we're in balance and we're good. But if we start to get an overgrowth of the bad guys, that can become a problem. Or if we have too much bacteria migrating up into the small intestines, you know, we want most of the bacteria to be in the colon to do its work there. You know, that can be something called SIBO, or if it's fungal, it can be SIFO. So small intestinal bacterial overgrowth or small intestinal fungal overgrowth. Because we have all these, you know, unfortunately, a lot of people don't like to think about it, but we do have a lot of bugs living within us. And for the most part, they're beneficial to us, and we need to have a good balance of them but they can cause problems. Glyphosates is another major contributing factor. And this is where Amy and I, you know, always start talking about organic. And, you know, a lot of people kind of want to ignore the idea of organic, and even my household, you know, we used to think it's just more expensive and useless. If I'm eating fruits and vegetables, that's enough. But unfortunately, this is a chemical that's sprayed on anything that's not organic, and it's causing real problems with our connective tissue and also with our gut lining. And so it's in any of the fruits, vegetables, crops, grains that we're eating that would be non-organic. And unfortunately, it's even in the rainwater. So even if you're eating organic, I mean, we're still getting exposed to some point. But inflammation in the intestines can contribute to leaky gut, impaired digestion, so just not digesting our food well. So we think about, you know, people that have had their gallbladders out, that's impairing digestion. Gastric bypass, you know, even eating too fast or drinking a bunch of water with your meals, that's going to impair digestion. Low stomach acid, you know, we're not breaking down the food properly. Certainly toxins can contribute, heavy metals, molds, are ones that really stand out to me. Nutritional insufficiencies, because we got to have the building blocks to keep a good, strong gut lining. One of the big ones is that I've researched is vitamin D. Chronically low vitamin D can contribute to leaky gut and autoimmune disease. And many of us up north have chronically low vitamin D. And then medications. And unfortunately, these are the medications that are really common. NSAIDs are non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. These are your Motrin, your ibuprofen, your Aleve. We take them all the time. If you have chronic headaches or you're an athlete, you're feeling sore, you pop a pill and we think nothing of it. Well, over time and with chronic use, this is thinning out the gut lining, it's inflaming it, and it can contribute to leaky gut. Antibiotics are another one because it's creating that imbalance of the bacteria. You're killing off everything when you take an antibiotic. Acid blockers, that would be like Prilosec, Pepcid, Protonix. Antidepressants, SSRIs, can contribute to leaky gut, and so can birth control. And looking at that list, I'm like, oh shoot, I took all of those in my life. So it's very common, very, very common. What from our history can set us up for this? Well, family history of inflammatory bowel disease, certainly. So inflammatory bowel disease would be Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. But also I would add to that any family history of autoimmunity really can set us up for leaky gut, because leaky gut is kind of the predisposing factor to autoimmunity, because as the immune system is constantly coming in contact with these lipopolysaccharides and these undigested food particles, we have an immune system that's constantly going and constantly attacking, and then it starts to attack self. And that's what autoimmune is. It's the body attacking self. So whether it's in the muscles with a muscular sclerosis, or lupus in the immune system, or the thyroid, very common, it all kind of goes into the bucket of leaky gut. And as functional medicine practitioners, when we're dealing with any autoimmunity, we're treating the gut first, because that's where the barrier dysfunction is happening. And that's where we have to close the vault before we can get anywhere with decreasing the inflammation and the autoimmune processes. Other history, standard American diet. Unless you grew up in a house different than me, that's us. I mean, it's high in processed foods, high in sugar, high in carbs, low in protein, low in nutrients, low in fruits and vegetables, lots of boxes, lots of packages, lots of preservatives. That's just how we grew up, many of us. Alterations in the intestinal flora, again, antibiotics, any opportunistic infections like traveler's diarrhea, parasites, yeast, viruses. And yeast is very common, especially if somebody has had a history of frequent antibiotic use. Then the antibiotic, the good bacteria is going to go down, and then the yeast is going to proliferate, right? Because the bacteria and the yeast need to have a balance too. And we have yeast in us. Everybody does. We're meant to, and they serve a purpose. But if it gets too high and out of control, it can lead to problems. Adrenal fatigue, that has to do with chronic stress. If somebody's been chronically stressed for a long time, the low adrenal function can lead to leaky gut. Traumatic brain injury, I mentioned SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, because as the bacteria are multiplying, they're releasing gases, and the gases can be really damaging to the gut lining, and that can cause damage and create a leaky gut. Poor sleep, that's going to lead to more stress, sedentary lifestyle, poor coping skills, depression, anxiety, unsupported family and friends. Raise your hand if you have any of that or all of that, right? I don't have a traumatic brain injury history, thank God. But goodness gracious, I think a lot of us can identify with that. Symptoms. This is interesting because we don't have a test for this. This isn't something that we can draw a lab up and we can say, oh, yep, that person has leaky gut. And also, it's not always a gut related symptom. I never had a bellyache, but I certainly had headaches and migraines. In my 20s, I was having severe knee pain. I thought something was wrong, and I go to the doctor and he's like, yeah, you just have arthritis. I'm like, I'm 20 years old. How do I have arthritis? Irritable bowel syndrome. So you can have, the oscillation between diarrhea, constipation, bloating, gas, but not always. It can be the systemic stuff like high cholesterol, that's inflammation. Fatigue is a big one. A lot of people in our office come in fatigue, generalized complaint. It's inflammation. It's a leaky gut, brain fog. And then we have a lot of the gut related symptoms, diarrhea, constipation, bloating, belching, things like that. So that was kind of a bummer. Yes, a lot of people have it. I think, gosh, I don't even know, Amy, the percentage. Would you say probably 80 to 90% of our patients that come to us have leaky gut? Would you agree?
Agree, most of them. And I want to say one thing. We can test for leaky gut, and we do it through stool testing. And that helps indicate whether someone is really having a leaky gut or not. There's not a specific test, but all of those tests within it help point to the state of your gut health, and that gives us really good clues of how to implement the 5R protocol, which Christy is going to go into next.
Yeah. So there is hope. There is a lot that we can do. And, as my teacher said when I was going through functional medicine school, disease begins in the gut. We have to start with the gut. We have to start healing the gut before we can really make any headway. So we're going to talk about this is very common in functional medicine training, the 5 Rs. So, in the order of this can oscillate, and we can do a couple of things at a time. So that's where it's really important to work with somebody, that knows what they're doing, and we try to make sure we're going at the pace of the individual. So it's not like you have to do remove and then you do the next step and then you do the next step. I mean, sometimes we're working on one or two and then we're changing it up and then we're going back. But these are the foundational things that we're identifying and addressing. So first and foremost is you have to take away the things that are causing harm. So we need to remove the foods that individual has a sensitivity to, that has an intolerance to, that has an allergy with. And options for this, there's different kinds of elimination diets. As I mentioned before, probably the top two I recommend most often is gluten and dairy, which unfortunately is part of a lot of people's diet. But if we're going to keep it as simplest, those would be the first two. Taking it a step further, taking out things like eggs, corn, soy, sugar, caffeine, and alcohol, because those are also things that are very common to cause antigens and allergies and inflammation in the systemic body. And then we have this protocol called the AIP protocol. And Amy actually did a fantastic job creating a self-paced workshop within our Rapha that you can purchase if you want to try it. She's done it for 30 days. She did all the work for you. It's fantastic. But it is strict. It is removing all of the things that could be contributing to an immune system reaction. So usually we need some support with that. I actually did AIP for a good 9 months when I discovered that I had autoimmune, and it was really pivotal in reversing my autoimmune symptoms and decreasing the inflammation. But we also want to remove any infections that there may be, which is what Amy was referring to with the stool test, is very important, especially if someone has autoimmunity. Seeing what's going on in their gut. Oftentimes there is some kind of infection, maybe a parasite, maybe bacterial, maybe a yeast overgrowth. And so we need to use some antimicrobials to bring that pathogen down. We rarely use antibiotics. We do if we have to, but oftentimes we try to use some herbs, some things that are a little bit gentler to balance things out. Biofilm busters, because all these bugs have this thick mucousy biofilm that we need to go after. Also removing the environmental stressors and the pollutants, so the pesticides. I mean, if we're constantly putting in things that's causing damage, we're basically pouring water into a bucket with a hole in it. You got to take away the things that are harming it. And stress. We always are going to be talking about stress, and we're going to get more into that as we go, how important the stress and the gut are interrelated. And then we want to replace things that may be lacking or inadequate. And so oftentimes when we have this inflammation in the barrier, we're also not making good digestive juices. And the digestive juices are really important to break down the food and absorb the food we're eating. So even if we're eating a really good diet if we're not able to break it down and we don't have good digestive enzymes or pancreatic enzymes, we're still going to have a problem because we're not going to get those nutrients to the systemic body so it can be utilized. So pancreatic enzymes are really important. If you've ever experienced gas or bloating, especially after maybe beans or a high vegetable meal, it can be because there's pancreatic enzyme insufficiency. Diabetics tend to have pancreatic enzyme insufficiency because the pancreas is helping us with insulin, the hormone insulin, but it's also helping us make our pancreatic enzymes. Hydrochloric acid, that's stomach acid. So people that are on PPIs chronically, they're not going to have good, strong stomach acid. They're not going to be able to break down the protein and absorb the B12 and the iron in their food. So sometimes we need to use some support for stomach acid production. Certainly getting people off PPIs would be helpful. Don't do it on your own. I don't recommend that at all. You need to work with somebody and do it very, very slowly, or else we get rebound heartburn. Bile salts, this is biles coming in from the gallbladder made in the liver. This is what helps to emulsify fats. So thinking of it like Dawn dish soap and bacon grease, it helps to break down. So we need that for our fat soluble vitamin absorption, like vitamin D and vitamin A and vitamin E. And so again, if we've had our gallbladder removed, we're not making the bile correctly. And then fiber, because the bacteria likes the fiber, and that's a prebiotic. Fiber is also great for motility and for keeping the colon healthy. So we bring back in the things that we need, and then we re-inoculate. So this is like planting the seeds back in the garden. If somebody's been on a lot of antibiotics, they're losing that good bacterial balance. So these are probiotics. And Amy's listed, or we've listed a few of probiotics here and different dosages. Oftentimes we go really high in the beginning to try to balance things out. And then we kind of ride at a maintenance dose of about 20 billion. This is something that, again, it's wise to know what we're doing and to work with somebody that has an understanding of probiotics. One of the things that comes to mind with me is histamine. Some of the probiotics on the shelves are histamine producing. And many people, including myself, that have had a lot of gut issues and autoimmunity, we don't break down histamine really well. So, I've ran into problems where I'm taking this, broad spectrum probiotic and I'm thinking it's doing a really good job and I end up getting worse, and later finding out that the strains and that probiotic are actually flaring up my gut because of histamine. So just keep that in mind. And then also prebiotics like inulin and FOS and soluble fibers, because again, we're gonna bring in the probiotics, but then we want to make them flourish as well. And this is where prebiotics can come in, because the prebiotics are like the food for the probiotics. And then we want to repair. We want to heal that gut lining. We want to close that vault, right? So we want to soothe it. I think of it like putting salve on a burn, putting aloe on a cut. So we want to repair that gut lining. We want to heal it. So these healing herbs are things like glutamine, vitamin A, vitamin D, zinc. We have this mucilaginous support. Amy and I have a lot of products that we like to do this, and this can take a couple months generally after doing an elimination and doing a antimicrobial protocol. We'll do 2 to 3 months of healing and repairing. I typically like to use powders because they seem to work best and start to heal that lining of the digestional tract. And then rebalance. This refers to supporting the restorative process in our lives. So we have to consider, what's led up to this point. How did I get here? And then how do I prevent myself from going down that cycle again? Because, human nature is when I'm in a crisis, I'll do what I need to do to get better. I don't like to feel good. So I'm going to do whatever you tell me to do. I'll go on whatever diet you tell me to go on. And then once we start feeling better, I've been guilty of this many times, is then we start to deviate to our old ways. You know, we want to do what everybody else is doing. I mean, this is how everybody else is living. So certainly this should be okay for me, right? And then you can end up kind of spiraling back. And so it's examining and creating that balance in life. Like, what is your schedule looking like? Are we taking time out for relaxation? Are we making sure when we're eating that we're very mindful about it so that we are able to absorb the nutrients, and we're making food choices rather than just eating what's ever available or eating whatever, you know, we see. So there's some tools for this, like heart rate variability and biofeedback, yoga, meditation, prayer, journaling, breathing, therapy if we need it, like figuring out, why am I overworking myself to where I'm getting to this point where my gut is a wreck or my whole body is inflamed, which we're going to go into more here as we talk about the nervous system.
Yeah, so what we're going to talk about is how that gut and brain are connected. So 70% of the immune system actually lies in the gut. So the brain has a direct effect on the stomach and intestines. So for example, the very thought of eating can release the stomach juices before food gets there. This connection goes both ways. So a troubled intestine, which would be a leaky gut, can send signals to the brain, just as a troubled brain can send signals to the gut. Therefore, a person's stomach or intestinal distress can be the cause of the product of anxiety, stress, or depression. That's because the brain and the GI system are intimately connected. So they're connected via the vagus nerve. So it starts at the base of the neck and runs through all of your organs in the abdomen. So through the heart, the lung, the liver, the spleen, the kidneys, the stomach, and the small and large intestine. So the brain controls those organs through the vagus nerve. And there are two branches of the vagus nerve. There's the ventral vagal branch, which is I feel safe and connected part of the vagus nerve. And it's part of the parasympathetic nervous system. So there's two different nervous systems. There's a sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The parasympathetic is the one that you more want to be in, and it supports social engagement. You feel calm, connected, and this is actually where the healing actually happens. So this part of the vagus nerve increases your heart rate variability, which you want your heart rate variability to go up. It helps with eye contact, your vocal tone, facial expressions, helps with digestion, immune function, and relaxation. The other branch is the dorsal vagal branch. This is where you feel I'm overwhelmed, I need to shut down. This is also part of the parasympathetic because it's helping shut down things, but it's not the part of the parasympathetic that you want to be in. This triggers the freeze and collapse response. It activates when the body feels unsafe or powerless. So it's associated with low energy, that fatigue that everybody complains about. Feeling numb. Have you ever just feel numb, like you have no emotion, or you disassociate yourself easily? You'll have a decreased heart rate, decreased digestion, and decreased alertness. And it's associated with trauma, chronic fatigue, and depression. So we're going to talk about the polyvagal theory, which was developed to explain how our nervous system responds to safety, danger, and trauma, especially through the vagus nerve. So we don't just have the fight or flight or rest and digest. We actually have three states controlled by the autonomic nervous system. The three states are the sympathetic state, the one in yellow, and this one activates your fight or flight response. So you want this. If you're going on a hike and a bear jumps out on the trail, you want your sympathetic state to be on fire so you can decide what to do in that situation. The other one is the ventral vagal state. This is the one that we really want to live in the most time. This promotes the social engagement and connection. This is where we feel happy and connected with other people. And then there's the dorsal vagal state, which is where most people are living, and we want to get out of this one. This is associated with immobilization and shutdown linked to trauma and extreme stress. So if you live with chronic stress because you live the American lifestyle, this mostly likely is the state that you're in. So what is the purpose of the vagus nerve? So that dorsal vagal state, which is the freeze, faint, or shutdown stage, is triggered when the body feels unsafe or overwhelmed. The body slows everything down in this state to survive. So it increases fat storage. This is why people gain weight. It increases insulin activity. We have blood sugar dysregulation. It increases endorphins, so you don't feel any pain. And it causes an increase in disassociation and numbness. It decreases your arousal and alertness, your heart rate and motivation and mood. So you can kind of have like the brain fog effect during this state of the vagus nerve. And this is the state often linked to depression, chronic fatigue, and emotional disconnection. The other one is when the body mobilizes, and this is the fight or flight, the sympathetic state. It's controlled by the sympathetic nervous system. The body gears up to protect you from danger, like I talked about with the bear. So what happens inside the body? Your adrenaline is going to get increased, so you can run away. Your heart rate and your alertness is going to go up. You can see everything. You're fast to react. You can have muscle tension, fear, anger, or irritability, stress, and survival instincts. What it's going to decrease is your digestion. So this is where it's going to lead to the leaky gut. It's going to decrease your immune function, where the autoimmune issues start to pop up. And it's going to decrease your insulin activity. So again, your blood sugar is going to be all over the place. So this is your body in a high alert reactive state, which I said great for emergencies, but harmful when it's chronic. And the third part of the vagus nerve is the ventral vagal state. This is the power of connection and social engagement. So you want to live in this state. You want to feel safe in the relationships and where you live. You want to feel connected and calm with others. So this helps us express our emotions. It helps us make eye contact. You ever meet somebody and they don't want to look you straight in the eyes? It's because they're not in the ventral vagal state. They're not feeling safe for some reason in that moment. It helps people speak clearly and calmly, and feel empathy and joy. So what happens in this healing state is when this vagal state is increased, you're going to rest and be able to digest your food. Your immune function is going to improve. You're going to feel more calm energy. You're going to feel emotionally connected, feeling grounded and open. It is going to decrease your stress hormones, decrease your reactivity, and decrease your inflammation. So this is, again, the state where true healing, regulation, and connection begins. So this is a little graph that kind of shows at the bottom social engagement, where you want to be. And then when the adrenaline starts to increase, you get into the fight or flight side. And then in the dorsal vagal is when you freeze. This is when you don't feel safe at all. So these are the different stages, and you can see on the right side kind of everything I already explained of what happens to your body in each of these stages.
I want to just add, Amy, when because we trained in this when we started doing the Safe and Sound, which is part of some of the programs that we deliver. And in reading the book on it, it was really interesting when the author was talking about how, our ancestors they would use eye contact and their nervous system, like how our nervous system developed to be the way that it is. If you saw a stranger from across the way, you're gonna look at them and you're gonna read their facial expressions, and you're gonna look in their eyes, and you're gonna see, is this person safe? And that's gonna give you that feeling. And that's kind of how these nervous systems were activated. And if you felt danger, then you'd go and you'd get away, and you would fight. So it's just cool, like when I think about how we've evolved to this, and how it's helpful in our day to day, but it can also be kind of annoying, because today, at this day and age, we don't have any real immediate danger in front of us, but our nervous system is still receiving and picking up on what's going on. And a lot of it has to do with our thoughts. What are we thinking about? What are we watching? What are we reading? What are we putting in our head? Because those thoughts and those are triggering our nervous system because there isn't actually, a bear in front of us.
Right.
But just being late for work, being too busy, having too much on your plate, those are all the same things that are creating these hormones that are very similar to what we created when we actually were in danger.
Our bear now could be Facebook, because
Yes.
we're socially disconnected, even though we're connected with people. There's no eye contact on Facebook anymore, right? I like that. Okay, so the vagus nerve's effect on the gut. So what it helps, the vagus nerve helps upregulate the mechanical breakdown of solid foods. It stimulates release of the digestive enzymes and bile salts that Christy talked about. It can slow gastric emptying, so it controls how the food moves through the small and large intestine, how fast or how slow it's going to move. It enhances feeling full, and it decreases inflammation and leaky gut. So a healthy vagus nerve improves these conditions. So we're going to talk about how to improve your vagus nerve in a second, but when you're able to improve your vagus nerve and have what we call good vagal tone, chronic fatigue syndrome will be improved, depression, PTSD, ADHD, brain fog, memory loss, weight management and food intake, heart failure, hypertension, stroke, inflammatory bowel disease, constipation, and rheumatoid arthritis, and even epilepsy and seizures can improve. So how in the heck do you assess your vagal tone or even know where your vagal tone is? So this is a really easy thing that you can do. And what you're going to do is you're going to look in the mirror and you're going to open your mouth and look at your uvula and soft palate on both sides. So you see on this graph, the uvula is the thing that's sticking down in the middle. So what you're doing is you're looking at this portion, the soft palate, the hard palate is at the very top, the soft palate is right here. And you're going to look and say, ah. As you say, ah, you're going to observe your uvula go up straight. But sometimes what happens is only one part of the soft palate will rise and not the other. They should both move up on both sides at the same time. If the uvula and both sides of the soft palate move up together, then you have a good vagal tone. If only one side of the soft palate rises, then you have poor vagal tone. Also, if you just feel stressed, you most likely have poor vagal tone. So how to increase vagal tone? So Christy talked about reinoculation phase, and we use probiotics during that time. So probiotics can help. Deep breathing is really important. I always like box breathing. It's a very simple one that everybody can do. So box breathing is where you inhale 4 counts, hold 4 counts, exhale 4 counts, and hold 4 counts. But honestly, if you can just sit for 3 minutes and just really focus on your breath, just breathe in and out to whatever rhythm you want to, that's going to be more beneficial than just going along and not even recognizing that you're breathing. Just recognizing it is really important. The mind-body technique, which is called the Rosenberg basic exercise, which I'm going to show you how to do. Acupuncture can also help because it's getting into the nervous system's meridian energy points. Music, singing, chanting, and singing loudly actually can help increase your vagal tone. So whether you go to church, you could sing really loudly there. If you're in your car, turn up the music all the way and sing really loudly. Gargling vigorously actually can help as well. So it says several times a day, an entire glass of water until your eyes water. So the eye watering is an important point with the gargling and also the gag reflex. You can use a tongue depressor on the back of your tongue several times a day until your eyes water. And once your eyes water, that's when you know that your vagal tone has actually improved. Strength training also is helpful, and coffee enemas actually also help with your vagal tone. So the Rosenberg basic exercise, this activation of the ventral vagus nerve, which improves our social engagement. So this is another thing that you guys can do. So whether you want to do it now or later, what you're going to do is you're going to lay down on your back with your eyes facing the ceiling. So you're going to look up at the ceiling. You're going to leave your hands together and you're going to put them behind your head and lay like this flat. You're going to move your eyes, keeping your head straight, looking at the ceiling, but only your eyes are going to move. You're going to move them all the way as far as you can to the right side. You're going to wait for the sign. So you're going to stay here for 30 to 60 seconds until you have the sign of yawning, swallowing, or sighing. These are signs your body is relaxing. So sometimes this takes longer than 60 seconds for some people. So you just kind of heads facing the ceiling, but your eyes are all the way to the right side, and you just stay there as long as you can until you get the sign. Then once you get the sign, then you repeat the same thing. Your head is facing the ceiling, but your eyes are moving all the way to the left. And that actually will help increase your vagal tone, just with doing that. That's a simple thing you can do along with breathing. There are two other things that we want you guys to know about that you can use to assess your gut health, and that's the baking soda test and the transit time test. So the baking soda test is going to test for your stomach acidity. So when Chrissy was talking earlier about you need hydrochloric acid to help break down your food so you can get the nutrients from it. So the baking soda test is going to show how much hydrochloric acid is in your stomach. A caveat is you would want to be off of acids for a couple of weeks prior to doing this, because if you're on Prilosec or Nexium, it's blocking your stomach acid, so the test isn't going to work. So how do you do it? You're going to put 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. Make sure it's fresh baking soda, not old baking soda, in 4 ounces of water. You're going to drink it on an empty stomach first thing in the morning. So no food, and then you're going to wait for 15 minutes to see the results. A positive test is if you do not burp when you have low levels of stomach acid. A negative test is if within 5 minutes you start burping, then you have normal stomach acid. So you want to drink the baking soda and then within 5 minutes start to burp. That means your stomach acid is good because it's causing the chemical reaction of the baking soda and the hydrochloric acid. If you do not burp, then that means you don't have enough stomach acid. And sometimes in our American culture, when we have low stomach acid, we're actually prescribed acid blockers, which is not the right path that you need to go down. You need something like hydrochloric acid or bitters that will help stimulate the hydrochloric acid to be produced in the stomach. So you guys can definitely do that. Yeah, Christy?
Yeah, because the low stomach acid is creating maldigestion. And so you're eating a big meal, let's say, or steak and potato, whatever, and you don't have enough stomach acid. And we're taking 2 or 3 bites and we're chewing whole big food particles. Well, then the stomach has to work really hard to make more and more acid to try to break this food down. The food is sitting in the stomach longer than it should be, and then it starts to ferment. And then that fermentation bubbles up and it pops open that esophageal sphincter. And that's putting acid now in the esophagus. And now we have heartburn or we have indigestion. But the problem was never you had too much stomach acid. It was we didn't have enough and we had maldigestion and we weren't able to break that food down. And so now we have acid where it shouldn't be in the esophagus, where it needs to stay into the stomach. It also can simply be a magnesium deficiency because low magnesium can cause weakness in that sphincter and cause it to pop open, and then acid can get into the esophagus. So
that's another really important point about mindful eating. You kind of talked about that earlier. Is just taking time to actually chew your food. Like you have to really chew it a lot of times. We just kind of rush through things. We need to sit down. We shouldn't be on our phones or watching screens. We should be sitting down and having a conversation and enjoying our food. Like chew your food. Think of mindful eating to me is when I sit down, I think I'm chewing my food. I can feel me move my tongue around. I can feel me swallow and it going down my throat. Like those are all being mindful of all the different steps as you eat.
being present with it, right?
Yes.
We always want to be thinking about something else we should be doing
Multitasking.
or watching TV.
Yeah, because we kind of want to escape, right? We want to zone out and watch TV while we do it. All right, so the other test is the transit time test. And this is the time it takes for the food you eat to travel through your digestive system and get eliminated as poop. So how do you do it? So you're not going to eat your food marker a week before you do this test. And you can choose between 2 food markers, sweet corn or sesame seeds. So you would want to do 1 cup of sweet corn because everybody knows they've ate corn and they can see it in their poop. The other one is the sesame seed, and you can do 2 teaspoons mixed in a glass of water. Oh, I'm sorry, there's 3 markers. Or a red beetroot, which is 1 cup raw or cooked of beets. And that will show up red in your stool, so don't get concerned that it's blood, it's just the beet you ate. So you're going to eat all of it alone, 1 hour away from other food, and you're going to record that time and date. You're going to look for your food marker in your poop, record the time and date that you first passed it. Find your transit time, calculate the difference between the time you ate it and the time that you pooped it out. You compare it to the ideal range of 12 to 48 hours. That's where you want it to be. 12 to 48 hours is normal. And don't just look once. Not all food may have been eliminated at the first glimpse, so keep watch. Those corn kernels could be hanging around hours later. So, too slow, which means that your corn or flaxseed or beets came out more than 3 days later, that's a slow transit time, and it's a sign of constipation, right? I always want to tell this to my clients. They're like, oh, I don't have constipation. I go every 2 days. Like, that is constipation. You should be going actually after each meal. You should be eating enough fiber that you have a bowel movement at least twice a day. At least twice a day, I would say. So slow transit times can be a sign of imbalanced gut flora, toxin buildup, higher likelihood of gas and bloating, SIBO, and pathogenic infections. And me and Christy have been seeing a lot of clients and doing a lot of parasite cleanse. I really realized, and my eyes have been opened to how much parasites are causing a lot of issues. Again, Americans tend to think we don't have issues with parasites, but we definitely do. So if your stool came out too fast, so if it came out in less than 10 hours, because normal was 12 to 48 hours, this means food is passing through your digestive system too quickly. Quick transit times suggest you may not be absorbing nutrients from your food properly. And it can be a sign of nutrient deficiencies, serious conditions such as IBD, ulcerative colitis, celiac disease, and Crohn's. All right, I'm going to pass it back to Christy for a little bit.
Also, a fast transit time, you know, the stress in the vagus nerve, right? Many of us have experienced a stressful event and we kind of get a little irritable bowel syndrome. Some people get constipation, other people tend to dump. Food sensitivities as well. I've seen this a lot with people that have dairy allergies. They're telling me, you know, they have loose stools. You know, the stool should be formed too. We didn't talk about this, but there's that Bristol stool chart, right? So you have like the mushy stools or the liquid stools, or you have like the pebbles, which are, you know, a sign of constipation. You know, you want to have like a log, a nice soft log. And oftentimes patients that have frequent looser stools can be a sign of a dairy sensitivity, and I just get them off dairy and it's resolved itself. But I'm excited to do those tests. I'm going to be doing those. That was good. So what we've covered with the gut is very foundational, but it really is just the tip of the iceberg. And there's so many other things that Amy and I are looking at and evaluating and thinking about when we're working with clients and we're creating a map for them. You know, every person that we're working with, we create a map and we look at history all the way from the beginning, from pregnancy and birth and delivery, and how that has the influence and everything that's went on leading up to the point that they're at where they're coming to seek us for some support. And we're looking at all of the things. And so the gut and what we're talking about is just one part of it. Certainly an anti-inflammatory diet is oftentimes one of the most important things. I would say, even from my own experience, just changing my diet alone gave me 50 to 60% reduction in symptoms. And I can say that's true for my patients as well. We can get tremendous improvement just by changing the food. And that's why the ancient, or not ancient, but the historical healers of our time, they say things like food is medicine, because it is, or it can be harmful, you know, depending on what we're putting into our body. Toxicity is definitely something that Amy and I address at the right time in somebody's healing. Sometimes it's in the beginning. I find that that's not the case very often. Rarely do I start with detox. I feel that detox should be done from a place of strength, because you're pulling things out of circulation, or out into circulation, I'm sorry. The body will store toxins in fat and in tissue. Whatever we're getting exposed to at the time of toxicity, our body is storing it to keep us safe. because it doesn't want that toxin floating around the bloodstream causing problems. So when we start pulling things out of circulation, it can cause some issues. And so we want to make sure that that person is well balanced and has, inflammation calmed down and their immune system's chilled out before we start, doing that. But certainly lifting that toxic load. I always think of toxins like, a book bag, a heavy book bag that we're wearing, and it just slows everything down. It slows down energy production, mitochondria, it slows down detox. So it ends up being a vicious cycle. So detox is certainly something we have to address. And those parasites that Amy was referring to, a lot of times our body will allow the parasites to proliferate because of toxicity. It's a really intuitive dance that the body does where it will actually allow the parasite, because the parasite's eating up the toxins. So whenever anybody's doing a parasite cleanse, we got to make sure that we're using binders to bind up. When that parasite dies, all those toxins get exposed into circulation. And so we want to use binders to try to help the body get rid of that. Same thing with weight loss. Any of my patients that are losing more than 10 pounds in a pretty rapid period of time, I put them on binders, because when you lose fat, you're releasing toxins. That's why if anyone's ever done keto, you get that keto flu. It's because you've released toxins into circulation and it makes you feel really crappy. So healing the gut. So after we do the elimination diet, it's not always forever. I'm not AIP today. I eat a lot of variety of beans and seeds and things like that. Took me a while. Eggs was something that I had to reintroduce a few times before I got where I felt like it was a go for me. So there's a way to reintroduce foods to where it's not causing problems. The 5-hour protocol, intermittent fasting is another tool that we use quite often. Again, it's very intuitive when we think of the way our ancestors ate. I mean, we didn't have grocery stores. Nobody was eating 3 meals a day. So when we think about as much as we're eating and as many times as we're eating, we can see how just digesting all the time might be causing issues with our digestive system and also just with our energy production. So this is something I've started implementing this year, is just trying to lengthen my daily fast. And then I'm playing around with like a 24-hour fast once or twice a month too. And I'm finding it really helps with food noise, feeling like, oh, I gotta have food with me if I'm gone away from the house too long. And it's like, I can go 24 hours. I don't have to eat anything. It's kind of freeing for me. I really like it. And then just making sure that we are prioritizing those macros, protein intake, fat intake should be kind of on the higher, and the carb, more of a modest amount when we're making our meals. Adrenal function and adrenal health is hugely important. Amy talked about the nervous system modes. If you're in chronic stress, it's going to be a problem if the adrenals aren't working. The adrenals are the master hormones. All the hormones are intercommunicating together. So if the adrenals are off, the other hormones can be off. The body's always going to prioritize survival. So we have to address the adrenal glands and how they're functioning. And this is an example of a diurnal cortisol curve that we can do through saliva or urine to see how somebody's cortisol is throughout the day. And sometimes we have to do some aggressive interventions to manage that.
Yeah, I'm gonna add something because I always like to do the cortisol testing, because we can use different adaptogens and herbs based on whether your cortisol is too high or too low. So if we don't do the testing, we're not going to actually know where your cortisol lies, and you may be taking the wrong supplement to lower your cortisol when you actually need to increase your cortisol. So that's why that's really important to get a personalized protocol supplement.
Agree. Again, rebalancing the nervous system, into incorporating those things that were mentioned: music, tapping, monitoring the heart rate, grounding outside. We're electrical beings. Our nervous system is electromagnetic conductions. So we are being exposed to electromagnetic frequencies all the time. And so grounding and allowing the body to release those electromagnetic frequencies is very important. Breath work, things like that. And Amy has a fantastic program that she's going to talk about that kind of brings all of this together.
Yeah, so the 35 weight loss blueprint is made for women over 35 who are dealing with weight loss, but I say it's weight loss because everybody that I put on this protocol always loses weight. So you don't have to be extremely overweight. You could have a couple pounds that you need to lose and you would still be a candidate. But what I do is I bring you through everything that we talked through today of how to heal your gut. So I'm going to give you, I bring you through an elimination diet, and I give you 12 weeks of recipes, menu plans, and grocery lists. You get an adrenal kit with a personalized protocol, which is what we just talked about. You get 6 different educational modules that explain more in depth how to heal your gut, how to reintroduce your foods, how to use heart rate variability to exercise correctly, how to heal your nervous system. And I even go into talking about how different genetic conditions like MTHFR and COMT and advanced lipid panels and testing can be affecting your weight loss. You get exclusive online community access, and you get, I also do a 3-month detox during this because, like Christy had mentioned, fat hangs on to toxins. So this is a heavy metal and a parasite cleanse that I put you through, where I use binders to help pull all that off as we're losing the weight. So the first module is called the gut balance method, and this is where we put you through an elimination diet for 6 weeks. So you get handheld, you get all the recipes, you'll know exactly which foods to eat, which foods to avoid. Because one of the biggest problems with doing an elimination diet is how the heck to do it. So Christy had mentioned earlier, I created the autoimmune protocol program. And that's because I put myself on the autoimmune protocol because I was telling all my clients to do it. But I'm like, Amy, how do you actually do it? So it's challenging to be able to remove these foods and still to figure out what do you eat. So I give you all the things you need to figure out how to do it, and that will work for you. So you get the 12 weeks of recipes and menu plans and the grocery list, which is really so nice. And there's actually, it was just released this week that the grocery list now will go to an Instacart. So you can actually send it to the grocery store that you want it to go, and you can have someone shop for you and have everything you need for that whole week, which just makes prepping even easier. Okay. So you also get the adrenal kit with it, which again, we want to know where your adrenals are so we can put you on the right herbs to either increase your cortisol or decrease it. And your adrenals are a response of your nervous system. So your nervous system is giving you your adrenals input, and that's increasing or decreasing your cortisol too much. So we really need to know what those are in order for you to truly heal. Because if your adrenals are off, your thyroid will be off, and then your sex hormones down the road will also be off. So a foundational step, just like healing the gut is foundational for functional medicine, healing your adrenals is also a foundational step as well. So you get all the 6 modules in the weight loss blueprint. You get the weekly group coaching call. So actually Wednesday evenings is when our group coaching call meets. So you'll be in there with other women going through the same program as you are, and you can ask any questions and do one-on-one hot coaching seats. Or you get to talk to me about any of your issues or what you're dealing with during the program. So I'm there throughout it. And you also have access to a group chat where we can talk in between our meetings. So get a lot of support through it. I already talked about it, the online community and access to me. So lesson 3 is where we go through the 3-month detox. And this is optional, but I do highly suggest it. Just like we said, it's really important to remove all these toxins so your body can actually let go of all the fat that you're holding on to. And it helps with your metabolism. It helps clean your liver, your kidneys, your digestive system. And there's a specific, when you're detoxing, I like the products from Cellcore. Those are the ones I use in this program, because each month you move through a different area that we're cleaning up. Like first it's the drainage. We're opening up the lymphatics, your liver and your kidneys and your colon. If you detox too quickly and you're not ready, your body's not ready to detox, you're going to have a lot of symptoms. So the way that it's set up, it really decreases symptoms as much as possible. And then lesson 5 is where we talk about heart rate variability. And I really like using heart rate variability. I use it from my Oura Ring. You can use your iPhone watches or Whoop bands. There's a bunch of different ways that you can track it. But I like heart rate variability because it really shows where your body and your nervous system stress is that day. And then you can take that biofeedback and that data and really tweak the day of whether you're going to be more relaxed, whether you're going to do a harder workout, or whether you need to just do something more gentle in your workout that day. So we use the biofeedback from our nervous system to work out effectively for our bodies, because what a lot of people do is they work out too hard and they actually make their nervous system worse and they hang on to weight more. So it's really important to know where your nervous system is. So you get all of this for $199 a month for the 35 weight loss blueprint. You get everything that we talked about. You just have to pay the $200 for the adrenal kit. I changed the model of the weight loss blueprint recently, so I'm doing it a little bit different to make it more accessible. Instead of paying everything up front, it's now just a monthly cost, because I'm also realizing that I was doing it as a 3-month program, which you can get a lot of headway within 3 months, but it's more of a 3 to 6 month program to be realistic, to get through all of these things and to heal. Kind of like Christy said, when we do the repair step, that's 3 months in itself. The remove step is usually about 1 to 2 months in itself. So it takes time. It took how many years old you are to get to the state of health you are. So it takes some time to reverse that. It's not a one and done kind of thing. So Christy's going to talk about another option besides a weight loss blueprint if you want to work with us.
Yeah, it absolutely takes time. And Amy addresses everything. I mean, and even when we were in family medicine, and our heart goes out to women that come into our office and they're doing everything that they're supposed to be doing based on the criteria that Americans are giving, calorie counting, counting your macros, all working out, right? Calories in, calories out. You just need to make sure you're exerting more calories. That doesn't work. And so Amy is addressing all of the things that are contributing to the inability to lose weight, especially in a female, because it's largely related to hormones, rather than just banging her head against the wall. And I've been overweight almost all my life up until the last couple of years, and I kind of fudged my way through what she's kind of put everything in a package, and intuitively provided to the community. So it really is fantastic. Also, what we both do is one-on-one coaching. This is primarily what I do, where we have packages where we work with the individual. We tailor it, tailor the package to what the individual need is. Some of them are 2 months long and 4 sessions. Some of them are 3 months and 6 sessions. Some of them generally after we go through an intensive package where we're working together kind of closely, because this is a commitment on our part and on our patient's part, where we're investing in this. When we get started, we do a very detailed health history. We create a map for them. We give them a broad overview of how we see these puzzle pieces have added up and how, this has led to where we're at today. And then we gradually start to pull the weeds and get to the root of where we're at, providing some rapid relief, providing the, nutritional support, supplements if needed, filling in those nutritional gaps. So it's cool because Amy and I are able to be the clinical expert. We can order the blood work, we can order the diagnostics, we can do the medicine part of it, but we also have both been trained and we have a heart for coaching. And so we are coaching, in the platform that we have allows us to coach in a really effective way, because we have a journal on there where you can, like MyFitnessPal, where you can journal your food, you can journal your mood. There's instant messaging. So we're very available for support, ongoing support, because we understand how hard it is. And we've lived it. We each have our own situations that we've dealt with, and we can bring our personal experience and then our clinical experience to the table. And then after that intensive program, we have some maintenance packages where we can continue to work together, yearly, 6 months, whatever the individual needs.
Yeah, so the way that they can book a call with us is to do a free root cause assessment, which is where we will listen to what you are dealing with and kind of explain the different packages that would work for you and what we kind of see as your path to healing. So if you want to work with us, you would go on our website and book a root cause assessment with either Christy or I, and we'll get you started in the right direction.
Conditions we treat is kind of everything because our background is family medicine, which is kind of everything in every age, right? So we were trained and all of the things. And, certainly we may have, more of a niche and a passion. Amy's kind of doing a lot with weight loss. I do a lot with autoimmunity, but we are both very competent in all of the things listed here, hormone health. We both have experience with hormone replacement therapy and males and females. Digestive, gut health is everything. We're very highly trained in gut and digestive health, thyroid health as well. Brain and mood, again, that also is oftentimes the root causes in the gut. And then environmental chronic illness, mold toxicity, longevity, and just, sometimes some of the funnest clients don't really have a whole lot going on. They just want to be healthy and they want to maximize their health. And that's really fun because they've already done a lot of homework and they're just like, just tell me what to do just to stay on the right path, to stay healthy and to optimize my health and to age well. We can do that too. There's so much that we can do and talk about to help people just to age well.
Yeah,
I'm aging backwards, so I'm just putting that out there.
a lot of clients will just want, and that's where the root cause assessment will be. Some people just want to review like basic cardiovascular labs for a functional medicine site on, do they really need to be on a statin? What's their cardiovascular risk? Because both Christy and I ordered advanced lipid panels that show way more than just the basic lipid panel that you're going to get of what your cardiovascular risk is. So I like that one when it's just preventative medicine.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing that I'm going to say, so we treat children, newborns on up, men and women. I am licensed in Colorado, Michigan, and Ohio. So if you're in those states during our call, I can work with you. And then Christy is licensed in Ohio and Michigan. So again, if you're within the state during the call, then she can work with you. So our license restrict us from working within other states. It doesn't matter where you live. So if you live on a line and you can drive to where the phone call will be placed, then that's how it will be. And again, I don't think we mentioned this. We do telehealth. We do online videos, just like we are on now for our sessions. Okay, so I am going to drop way to the end bonus. And I'm going to put this in the comments.
25 people hung in there. Thanks, guys. Hope it was enjoyable.
Get that Google Doc. You'll get all of the things that we put together. Maybe I'll show what it looks like. Let me put this screen over here. So it goes over a healthy living guide for a healthy gut brain. So kind of what fats you should be choosing and what ones you should be avoiding. Protein sources, what ones you should be eating. The carbohydrates that you want that are not processed or refined. The fruits and vegetables that you should be eating. Dairy, that it should be grass-fed, grass finished, 100% grass-fed dairy, no conventional dairy. Milk alternatives if you don't eat dairy. It just gives you a lot of great information. And then I also put the 20 harmful food additives banned or restricted in Europe but still allowed in the US. So this is really good when you're grocery shopping, have this list with you or save it on your phone that you'll know what to look for. And the FDA actually just came on this week and said they are removing all of the petroleum dyes in our food. So we won't have to be looking for all of these anymore. So it also gives you the clean 15. So these are the 15 foods that you actually don't have to buy organic. They are not heavily sprayed with glyphosate, so you don't have to do buy those so you can save money. The dirty dozen, you want to buy these foods organic because they are heavily sprayed with pesticides. And then I added in the phytonutrient spectrum checklist. So you should be getting fruits and vegetables from all of these different categories every single day. And I use this as a challenge in my family. I've done it before where everybody gets their own sheet and you have to mark which one you should be eating 2 of every color every day. And whoever marked the most wins something, whatever you want it to be. But eat at least 1 to 2 servings of every color every single day. And then the last part of it is a clean living guide. And these are like your everyday products that you use. What is a healthy option? What should you swap to avoid toxins? Okay. So that all is yours first thing today. All right, what else do we got? So we are doing another masterclass, but not till July 23rd is a Wednesday. July 23rd, this is the correct date, guys, at 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern time. And it's about crap food, toxins, and stress. So it goes into, again, kind of like the guide just showed you, all the foods to avoid, all the toxins to avoid, and it goes into how to manage your stress. So that's another great one. So put that on your calendar. You'll be getting emails and social media. We'll be seeing the post when that's coming live. Okay. So if you have any questions, you can email us at raphafunctionalwellness@gmail.com. But really the easiest way is to book that free root cause assessment. All right. That's the presentation for today. But what questions can we answer for you? If you have any questions.
I'm going to print out that eating the rainbow and do that with my daughter.
Yeah, it's fun to do with kids.
She's struggling eating healthy. She actually had a Snickers for breakfast the other day.
It's hard.
And she was hungry all day, and I tried to explain to her that her blood sugar spike, like she's 9. She's like, think probably eyes glazed over when I say this stuff, but I'm thinking your poor blood sugar spiked, and then you were just chasing it all day because you started your day with Snickers. Like, we did better today.
But that's a good point though, but she gets to see you make the healthy choices all the time, right? So she knows what to do. And that's a big thing too, is that your healthy choices that you're making today do affect generations down the line. So it's not necessarily genetics of why we get diseases, but it's the habits that we get from our family that creates a lot of disease.
Yes, we inherit our habits.
So Jill raised her hand. Jill, do you want to ask your question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So I was just reading this book called The 10-Day Detox, and it's by Mark Hyman. And I was looking over just like the recipes and the menu and, all of that stuff. And you're not allowed to have caffeine or coffee. On your plans, are you allowed to have caffeine, or do you actually not? Do you both not drink it?
I love coffee. I love coffee. It's you have to have a mold-free organic coffee. And I think both me and Chrissy like mushroom coffee. So when you're in the elimination phase or detoxing, yes, you do want to be off of caffeine because caffeine stimulates adrenaline, which can affect your nervous system and it can cause inflammation. So that's why it's removed.
Okay. That makes sense. Well, Christy, I know Christy. Hi, Christy, how are you? So I'm definitely going to reach out and get something scheduled. So it's all really good information. So I appreciate it.
It's individualized. I actually cut out coffee for probably 4 years.
Okay.
I didn't have it when I did the autoimmune. I didn't have it. It was AI. It's a bean, and AIP is no bean. So I just started reintroducing it about a year ago. And I was kind of, and I love it. I love it. So I look forward every day. I look forward to that cup of coffee. It's going to be where you're at in your journey. And that's why I probably will never write a book because I love reading them and but there's so much conflicting information. And I really love the one-on-one where
Yeah.
it's like, what do you need? I'm not going to make a statement that this is what everybody needs because
Yeah.
everybody is different. And where are you at on your healing journey? What's doable? What's possible? What does your individual biochemistry need? So it's hard to answer that, but I love Mark Hyman. He's doing so much good and at least bringing these kinds of things up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much. I listen to a lot of podcasts about longevity and functional medicine, and I've been doing it for like a year, and I just really haven't pulled the trigger to really do the individualized in it. And it's just time because there's so much information out there. It can be very confusing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Agree. I have to have a coach for me,
Yeah.
um, because and my coach isn't even, Amy's kind of my medical expert, but my coach is keeping me in line with my nervous system.
Yeah.
I need her for the accountability of not overbooking, overscheduling, overdoing,
Okay.
overbeing, right? We're human being, we're not a human doing. Um,
Yeah.
that's her saying. So I have a breath coach now too. Because that's where I'm at with my healing journey is I really need to keep working on my nervous system.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
coaches are really important. Even for people like me and Christy that know a lot, you still need someone on your journey that's helping you make the baby steps to get to that path that you want to be on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Rachel is asking, is it hormonal when you have a hard time eating when you know you need to? So and Rachel, I think you can unmute yourself. Are you saying you don't have an appetite and so you're kind of forcing yourself to eat those meals?
Hang on, let me unmute her. I gotta
Okay.
find her. Rachel, yeah, allowed to talk.
Yes, for sure.
Well, that's kind of a loaded question. It could also be a bacterial imbalance. I find sometimes with people that have overgrowths, they feel better without food in their belly because every time they eat, the bacteria is going crazy and and then they feel bloated or they have pain, they're not digesting well. So then they're just like, I just don't want to eat. I actually feel better without eating. That could be the case.
Yeah.
I never thought of that, but I think it's hard for me, maybe because I'm lazy or something, but it's hard for me to even meal prep. But then at the same time, when it's just me, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to be eating the same thing, same thing, same thing. And so it's hard for me to meal prep. And then I'm like, well, you need to eat.
Sounds like you just need a coach to help lay that all out. Because sometimes just talking through it was, why aren't you meal prepping? What's getting in the way of us asking those questions for you to think through it and to help you get to the right path to do it is, I think, is really effective.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, and it
Kind of
can
like accountability
Mhm.
counselor as well or something.
Yeah, accountability, especially with being motivated. How you motivate yourself. It's usually when, hey, Rachel, I'm gonna meet with you next week to go over everything that we talked about. You're gonna might be a little bit, okay, I better go get some rushing, better meal prep. So when I talk to Amy, so that creates those habits that will be long term.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but I definitely, like Christy said, your gut is what's talking to me right now when you ask that question. You want to think about that.
Thank you for the info.
You're welcome.
Another thing that my school talks about a lot in coaching people is, inspiration, empowerment, and education. And so, we can have all the answers in the world, but we want to educate. And for me, this was powerful doing the AIP because it is a really difficult diet. I needed to know why I couldn't eat those foods because I tried dieting. I had done all the diets previously because I was overweight. And I couldn't stick to it. Nothing stuck. But when I learned that when I eat this food, I'm getting inflamed, and that's why I'm tired every day, and that's why I have brain fog, and that's why, I'm not able to perform, that was very motivational for me. So the education that I learned about why was motivational then for me to do it. And then that as I started feeling better, I stayed on it. And then I was inspired because I felt good. I finally felt good. And I didn't realize how crappy I had felt until I started feeling good. And that happens a lot is people are like, wow, like I thought, I was doing okay. We're all doing okay out here. But are we feeling fantastic? Are we really showing up for our people and our families and our jobs? Or are we just getting by? Which is the case, unfortunately.
So I'm dropping the link again. Someone said, can you drop the link? I had it above too. So it's in there a couple times. You'll be able to see it. All right, there's another question. How do we feel about coffee? I think we already talked about that.
So
And
the tips for sticking to a restrictive diet when you're wanting to be social, I brought food a lot. I would bring my own meal. Um, I had my 40th party a year and a half ago, and I had brought, were you there, Amy?
there,
I brought salmon and rice and Brussels sprouts. And then I had a little bit of a gluten-free dessert. But yeah, I brought my own meal because we had it like catered. Um, so I do that a lot.
yeah, another tip is when you know you're going to be around family or friends and it's are surrounded around food is eat before you go.
Mhm.
And then bring a tea or bring something that you can do while you're there to still participate. You can sip on a tea or sip on something while you're there and still feel like you're socializing, because a lot of our social events are around food because food is a social activity. We should be looking each other in the eye and talking and chewing slowly. Like that's what we want to do, but you just want to make sure that you have the healthy choices.
Or
So
bring a dish. You bring a dish that you can eat to share. But yeah, thinking about that social engagement, and it's not about the food, it's about the enjoyment, because we look to food for pleasure and we look to food to fill a lot of those gaps that we have. And once we start recognizing that, then it's like, okay, what am I really craving? I'm craving love. I'm craving connection. I'm craving intimacy. I'm craving joy, playfulness, adventure. What are you really craving in life?
another thing that I do a lot, because my kids, my whole family, we don't eat gluten, soy, dairy, we're dye-free, we're organic. We do all the things that I teach. Is if we are gonna meet friends or something at a restaurant, I will look up restaurants ahead of time and know or call ahead to make sure that it's something that we can actually eat. And if we can't, then I just invite them over our house and then I make them food. It's the easier way. Okay.
She still says you can't see the link. You might need to look at that. Hi, Ryan. Evan wants to know resources to find information on the vagus nerve. So Amy had a couple good. Amy, are you going to be sharing the slides with people? Like those tests? How are they going to be able to access that after today?
You're gonna get the replay of the video. So you'll get everything within that you can, I guess, kind of freeze, but I wasn't sending out the
And Ryan, I actually have a really good vagus nerve handout that I give patients. I may have given it to you in our session notes before. So you can just maybe message me, maybe email me. And I have handouts actually on adaptogens, vagus nerve. Um, I don't have any, and actually I have if you're looking for psychotherapy, I definitely have some good therapists in the area that I can refer you to. Did I answer your question, Ryan?
I'm just trying to figure out the link. So I have it shared that anyone with the link can view the document. So someone's saying it's not there for us publicly. I think only the host can see. If you email it, that would be fine too.
Well, I just clicked on the link and it's popped up for me. Hmm.
I will make sure that I put it in the email tomorrow. With the replay, that the link is there if you guys cannot see it now. All right, was there any other questions that we missed?
Yeah, no, we have about 5 more minutes. Any last questions? You know, it's my bedtime.
To everyone. I was just messaging only me and Christy. Sorry, guys. That's why we could see it and you couldn't.
Okay. Hopefully that fixed it.
Ugh, technical difficulties. Okay. Well,
This was fun. I can't wait to do it again.
yeah, I'm glad me and Christy have always, because we don't live in the same state or city anymore, have done our own little thing where we live and are like, why are we not doing this online together? Like, why are we doing this by ourselves? And we can be able to reach more people. So hopefully you enjoyed it. You got something out of it that you can use to start making a healthier life today. Yep, I see everybody getting on the Google sheet. So cool. You got it. You guys are welcome. Glad you enjoyed it. Right. If you are not following us on our social media, I would definitely do that because that's where we're going to post most of our next programs coming up. So make sure you're following us.
And we
Yeah.
have some good nuggets. Amy does a fantastic job with our social media. It's pretty much all her. I'm not very literate in that. You'll just see me talking. That's my contribution. But it's going good. Yeah. So I definitely recommend following us because there's a lot of good information on there.
All right, guys. Everybody have a good night. That's the end of it for tonight.
Have a good night.
All right.
Bye guys. See ya.